Welcome to Criminal Minds, a comedic true crime watch-along podcast where we watch Criminal Minds, yes, all 15 seasons, and discuss the true crime that can be linked, however indirectly, to the episode. We're your hosts, Stacey Johnson and Veronica Shea, and this week we're joined by Amanda McHenry and discussing Season 1, Episode 1, Extreme Aggressor. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, you guys. Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh. Thanks for being on for our very first episode. This is going to be a hot mess, and I'm so glad you're here for it.
Well, if I'm here, that's very on brand, so there it is.
Perfect. Okay, so the pilot episode of Criminal Minds is a hot mess. Kind of the first half of the season is kind of, I think, a hot mess, which is normal, but I forgot how much of a hot mess it was. And, like, they have 25 serial killers. Like, in here they have the toolbox killers. They've got Bundy, Ed Kemper. They've got just fucking everybody. And, but all of those guys are going to have their own stuff. So we're going to focus on a different one. Who are we going to talk about today?
So today we are going to talk about the footpath killer. Is that it?
No, but he's in that episode too. They're all over the board with how many serial killers are in this episode.
Yeah, I feel like they really tried to set the precedence in this episode of what the heck this show was going to be about.
Yes, and they're like, we have to throw the ones that people know, throw them in. We don't know if we're going to get a second season. Everything at the wall. But for those of you who haven't seen the episode or haven't seen it in 16, 17 years... it's so old.
So old. I went back and watched this episode and was like, wow. It was like watching a whole new show, I felt like.
Yeah, Shemar Moore had a lot of
he's like one-liners.
Hello. But he had a lot. Well, one, he was a total misogynist. I was like, oh, I'm sorry, what is happening? This is not the Shemar we know and love. But he had like a razor phone clipped to his belt. He had a beeper.
Yeah.
I was like, what is this? Where are
It was
we?
Old school for sure.
This one takes place in Seattle. The women want to buy some kind of car, something Z.
The Datsun Z.
Thank you, Amanda. The Datsun Z. And that's how he gets them in the car. And then once they're in the car, he takes them to a boat where they're bound and gagged and put into a cage and raped and then killed. And there's 2 unsubs in it. And we get to meet all of our people. And we meet Elle, who I really dislike. I really hate that. I hate her. I hate the character. That poor actress. She was not set up for success. She's so annoying.
She really is. And not often would I blame writers for this. But
oh, I 100% blame the writers.
I'm glad you said
she was a terrible character. Okay, well, first of all, I do want to say, so there's the whole joke that women love true crime and serial killers and like why. And I think women like these things because we have to be prepared. Like these are things that could actually, it's not necessarily entertainment. It's also educational. These are things that could happen. That's why you want to be with a woman when shit goes down, right? Because they have an escape plan. There's an exit strategy.
Yeah.
They're going to have snacks. They're going to know what's the best weapon. Like, we got this. And it's because of our obsessions with true crime. And I would just like to say, any woman who is trapped in a car knows, first off, you grab the steering wheel and crash the car. You crash the car, you make a scene that he can't take you. Other than that, but like, if you're test driving the car, why did she stop somewhere not where she was picked up? Like, I don't want to victim blame, but like, drive yourself back to your office, get out of the car, and then don't get back in it and avoid the whole situation.
Yeah.
Because in real life, you would just go back to where he met you, but...
I think so.
It goes to that, like, if I was in that situation, would I have that clear mind to think something like that? My brain would be like, bleh, the whole time.
So Stacey's going to be a victim, for sure.
She's the one that's going to get kidnapped.
For sure.
Great.
Episode 1, we know.
Set the precedent now. If you're going to kidnap someone, kidnap Stacey. It'll be easy.
Correct. Yeah, I will just give up.
You got me.
Hold for Bartok. What are you barking at, Bubba? Are you okay? I love you.
I love you too.
Obviously not you, Stacey. Okay. So in our like little quick recap of the season, they want to drive the car. He gets them in the car, right? That's his whole ruse.
Yeah.
The thing, right? Which brings us to our first segment of Our Buddy Bundy.
Hey.
Beep, beep. Amanda, Our Buddy Bundy, go.
Our Buddy Bundy. So they really came out of the gates just like roaring with this in episode 1. And they use the car ruse to sort of give us that Bundy Easter egg. So this series, the episode, all of it, opens with this woman. She's looking online and you see that she's going to buy a Datsun Z. Thank you. So she takes a test drive and she's all excited. Everything's great. And then she gets kidnapped. And that harkens back to Ted Bundy, whose famous Buddy Buggy is the vintage Volkswagens. He owned the tan one, but he stole in Florida the orange red one, which is what Criminal Minds did. They used the orange red. And so Ted Bundy tore out the passenger seat of his bug to better transport and contain his victims, which we didn't see in the episode. They kind of made it a more modern car Bundy situation, and they wrote it hard for the first half of the episode, and then we just never heard about it again, you know?
Yeah. Well, then they started talking about Jeeps and how they're much more masculine than
Subarus
or whatever it was.
And apparently, like, probably better to transport your kidnapped victims in, I would assume.
I think Jeep should use that as its ad campaign. Buy Jeep. Better
Jeep.
for kidnap.
Better to dispose your bodies.
It's their new tagline. You could say, Bundy did it, so can you.
Okay, great. Great. Out of the gate. Okay, so tell us about our boys, Bloomfield and Shriner.
All right.
Let's get into it.
So, Clifton Bloomfield, let's start with him. He is the prisoner. He is a serial killer from Albuquerque, New Mexico. And the thing that I loved about his Wikipedia page is like serial killer, but also guess what? He was a background character in many movies and TV shows. So he's murdering people, but he's also trying to make a name for himself in Hollywood, as we all are.
I mean, everyone has to have a side hustle, okay? It's hard out here.
I also found it very interesting that the things he was in was like Prison Break and like all these things where he was like in prison.
I mean, you have to know your brand.
I guess. I feel like I would be like, oh my God, they're on to me. Like, this isn't a real job. They're just going to arrest me. But then I guess if you're a psychopath, you're like, all these idiots.
Like method acting to a whole new level.
I wonder if he considered that, like, oh, this is gonna benefit me later on.
He wasn't a serial killer. He was just a method actor.
Yes.
Aren't all method actors acting serial killers, though? Let's be real.
I mean, yeah, you're wrong about
They're bordering it.
It's just Daniel Day-Lewis. You guys, we got the wrong guy. It's
Daniel Day Bloomfield, everyone. All right. Clifton Bloomfield. He's a serial killer. He murdered 5 people in 2005 to 2008. And while he was in prison in New Mexico, there was a huge riot, deadly, and one of the prison guards, who is Matthew Shriner, not Mark Shriner, helped Clifton Bloomfield escape that night. And then he ended up going to prison. He was sentenced to like 200 years, something insane like that. So they got together, they were buddies in prison, said, I'll rub your back, you rub mine. There's this huge riot. They help each other escape. But in real life, unlike the movies, things don't always work out and you don't get to run off into the sunset.
Did you watch the footage? There's footage of this prison riot.
Oh.
And it's like really wild because this prison guard just goes and opens the cell and the guy busts out and like puts him up against a corner kind of, and then just takes his keys and goes one by one, letting other prisoners out. And then it ended up in like the death of one of the prisoners. But then Shriner turns around and it was like, I was tricked into opening his cell. And I'm like, what do you mean you were tricked? He's like, well, I'm like tired and I'm not well trained and I'm, 22. And I was like, well, then why were you there? Like, what if I'm tired, I'm not going and doing extra work. Like, I'm sitting at the desk, not doing anything.
Right.
Because I'm tired.
If you're going to lie about something, come up with a better lie.
And he was like, and then he took my key. He didn't take you gave him your keys. You gave him your keys. It's on
Correct.
the video. Like, what are you? And he sued the Department of Corrections and like the Department of Justice or something. Like, the whole thing is crazy. And then in the thing, it said that he resigned shortly after that. And I'm like, why was he not fired? That feels like, if anything is a fireable offense, trying to get a serial killer to escape and start a prison riot feels like right up there.
Maybe they were giving him a chance because he was so tired and they just felt bad. They're like, you do a really great job. We're going to give you a little vacation. Just take a breather, meditate, do some Tai Chi, talk to someone, and then come back and you'll do great. You'll be better than ever.
It's not good. And I mean, I think our first problem is that first of all, our first problem is our prison system in this country and the privatization of it. Ugh. Our second problem is that this privatized company that ran the prison was Florida based. And I think we've learned that nothing good comes out of Florida.
No.
So
that is correct.
The Real Housewives of Miami. That's great.
Is it though? Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Stacey's Googling that to see if
I am. How did you know?
Because I can hear you typing.
Oh no.
It's research. Intern research.
So, Stacey, The Real Housewives is some people like to call it a docu-series. It's reality television.
Do people call it a docu-series?
No, I assume you would, though.
Oh, no, it's reality. It is top shelf reality television.
And it follows these housewives. Although I've recently found out you don't even have to be married, so I don't know how that works.
Oh my God, after the first season, you never had to be married.
I have never watched this program in my life.
You guys you guys are brilliant comedy artists, and to not be watching Real Housewives, you are missing out on a treasure trove of content, beauty, happiness.
Beauty. I've seen these women. Beauty is not beauty, what I would describe.
Comedic beauty. Comedic, artistic beauty.
Oh my God.
If you want to see the beauty of plastic surgery, that's for sure.
The most reality TV... Well, Stacey and our reality TV show tends to be prison shows. We watch a lot of Locked Up Abroad.
See, that's what I need to get into.
Yeah, that stuff is really good. Jailbirds, that's the kids.
Jailbirds, that one.
Kids. Those were always the best episodes of Maury's when they were the middle schoolers going to boot camp.
Yes. They're in juvenile detention facilities and stuff. And then what else did we watch, Stace? Kids Behind Bars.
Kids Behind Bars. World's Toughest Prisons.
World's Toughest Prisons, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That one was skewed, though, because it's there's a TV host in the prison with a camera crew. You're not getting gang raped. You're not getting attacked. Not that we want to see that. Not that that should be happening, but
no.
But yeah, so those are our reality. And then my only other reality show is Bake Off. Obviously.
Okay, well, I think you guys really need to just try Real Housewives and come at it from a truly it is so fucking funny. Even though people are oh, it's reality, or what idiots call it docu-series. It is comedic gold. That's what it is.
Okay.
Potomac, Miami is pretty good.
McHenry, I have a question for you. If you had to pick one cast of Real Housewives as the top, which would it be?
The best?
Mm-hmm.
Potomac or Beverly Hills? For sure.
Where the fuck is Potomac?
It's in Washington.
Okay, yeah, that's the river. Wait.
Yeah.
Well.
That offended her.
There we go. Hello?
You're back,
She's back.
baby.
She's back,
Also,
baby.
though, if I had to choose a cast to go to prison with, it would be New Jersey for sure.
Oh,
That,
yeah.
obviously. I mean, oh my God, did you guys just see that New Jersey? Well, okay, so this is we're obviously recording this well before it's gonna air, but Newark just became city sisters with like a fake Indian city. Like they got scammed.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's like they got Nigerian princed to become sister cities with a fake city. And they had a full, like,
I was gonna say, did
ceremony.
they have like a full campaign for it?
Yeah, they had a full ceremony, signing, everything before, like, someone on the staff was like, wait a minute, I just did a quick Google search.
And this doesn't exist.
This doesn't exist.
New Jersey.
Get it together.
For real. So, Clifton Bloomfield.
Yes.
He is so ugly. Can we I mean, I don't... Okay, I'm so sorry. That came out as very, very harsh, but...
Well, he is a serial killer.
Yeah, you killed a bunch of people. And also, like, not in interesting ways. It was like a lot of burglaries turned murder, and which makes you less interesting than, like, the big psychopaths. Gotta. Okay, it's fine. We're doing great. So in that same, like, it was like a news coverage of the riot. They show him, and he has, like, no hair on top, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm into, like, bald bear daddies. But
like, get rid of all of it then, first of all.
Get rid of all of it. And why is your hair as long as mine? Pulled back into a ponytail with, like, Friar Tuck style on top. This man, like, he is so gross. He's so
Do you wanna
gross.
I have a theory. There was a woman that was reported who had pulled out, like, most of her hair up here. And what she would do is she would wear a beanie, like, pulled back and, like, the rest of her hair tucked in. And she would go to, like, different pharmacies and scam them out of drugs because she looked like a cancer patient.
You think he was doing it for drugs?
Yes. Always people are doing it for drugs.
Okay, well, we know what Stacy's doing it for.
Drugs.
I feel like men wouldn't do that because that's, like, hair is their big like, hair and dick size is their big sensitivities. So, like, I don't know that they would touch the hair.
Yeah, like, because you would think then a man would just shave his head bald to achieve that. Get rid of, like, the eyebrows and all of it. Not leave some of it. It feels like to leave some of it, he's really trying to, like, hold on to it. Because we all know people who are going bald who, like, hold on to that last little, you know, before they, like, just shave it.
You're married to a bald daddy.
I am, and I was gonna say, like, any man who is starting to bald, shave that shit off. Bald dudes are so hot. Vin Diesel, hello?
Yep. The Rock.
The Rock?
If you shave it on top, grow out a beard.
Oh.
Yes.
That is, yep.
Yes.
Yep. The Holy Grail.
That's hot. Stacey's
And
like,
you,
no.
like, I feel like bald dudes can get away with, like, a long beard, too. And it's still hot. It's not like...
Yeah, it's not as gross, but, like, let's not encourage that kind of
It
behavior.
depends on how long, because you either, like, there's, like, a level of beard length with bald white dude before you start to look racist.
That's true. Before it's, like, Hell's Angel-y.
Yes.
Well, because when it gets too long, then it's like no matter how you're grooming it, it looks
racist.
a little piratey. Yeah. A little
Yeah.
KKK.
E?
But like motorcycle gang KKK.
Yes, that's exactly
But,
the
like,
vibe.
not in the Charlie Hunnam kind of Ron Perlman
No.
hotness. Not in that kind of motorcycle gang.
No, like Charlie's third cousin from rehab. Or just cousin from Spanish Springs at Walmart. That's very much the vibe out there.
God. For everyone listening, that is a Reno, Nevada kind
Reno
of reference.
Sorry, I forgot we were like recording.
Oh God, Spanish
For sure.
Springs, fucking meth capital of the United States.
That's Sun Valley.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're next door.
Oh,
We're just close to the plug, okay?
I'm sorry, we are meth adjacent.
Thanks. We just do crystal out here. Wait, which one's like top shelf? Crystal? It's all meth, though. What am I saying?
I think top shelf meth is like ecstasy. You know, things that meth is made with.
MDMA.
My heart can't handle anything more than weed, so I don't know. I don't know about drugs.
Amazing.
I'm a Christian.
Ew, okay. Okay, speaking of beards and changing beards up, Shemar Moore.
Gimme more.
So this is the deal. We all understand that Shemar Moore is a 10 all the time.
10 out of 10. Every day.
All the time. So he's on his own scale, and we rate it from helpings of Shemar 1 through 5. Because even as a 10, he can be a 1, but then there are some times where he is so much more than a 10 in this show that we want 5 helpings of Shemar.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here he is in his purple shirt and tie. I did not like the direction they had Morgan going in, because this was not, he was very gross.
Oh, yeah. This is when he was total suit status for a while.
Yeah, they all started that way, where they were like very
Suits.
All business, all the time.
very government issued.
I hated that he was like you were saying earlier, he's just so misogynistic. He was always like on his phone, like, oh yeah, talking to whoever the woman in the scene is, like, oh, I just got this important text message. Oh, my beeper. Thank you.
Yeah, well, and like when Elle was like, oh, or he was like, show a little leg next time to her, I was like, why would he say that to an agent? Like, Morgan would never. And she was like, the only leg I'm going to show you is when I take you down. And he's like, I still teach hand-to-hand combat. Wink, wink. And I'm like, okay, well, this is just workplace harassment. Like, what is happening? She's threatening violence. He's like into it. I don't know.
He definitely had some good, like, character development.
Yeah. He was a bit toxic there in the beginning, but I do like a man in a suit. So I'm going to give this 2 helpings of Shemar.
Yeah.
Same. I don't want to write it off. I'll come back for seconds, but it's not the best.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 2. I'm going to go 2.5, actually.
2.5.
Because there is something a little, like, and I think it's only because he's holding the shot glass that I'm like, a little extra.
So you're ready to party. You like the
I'm
alcohol
ready to
he's bringing.
Party.
She said, degrade me, Daddy, as long as we're drinking, you know?
Exactly.
Poor Shemar. Is he married? What is this? What is this?
I'm pretty
gonna
sure
be?
he is. I think he has a baby.
That's going to be a very pretty baby.
I also wonder how, because obviously this is what, 2005, which is way before Me Too and people being like worried about consent at all. So I wonder if this, you know, premiered now, if his character would be kind of more the opposite. If his character would be like the one who's actually paying attention to like respecting women. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like a little more over, because he definitely, they change him that way, where he's very respectful towards women.
Yeah.
But he might also be the character who it's like, yeah, he's toxic, but we accept it because he is the hero. You know what I mean? Like, I'm rewatching SVU right now, and Chris Maloney, but like Detective Stabler. And I'm like, first of all,
we kind of love an alpha male a little bit.
Yes, we do.
This is where my toxic kink comes from. I think we found the origin story, because there's so much police brutality, and you're like, it's okay, it's just Stabler, and you're like, it's not okay.
Again, especially like, so Maloney had a suit transformation as well. He used to be all business, all suits, and then he transitioned and started wearing jeans, and you're just like,
or when he would transition and he'd be like changing his shirt, and you're like, oh, hey. Or in season 1, he's fully changing, he's getting ready for work, and he's wearing like forest green briefs, like the bikini briefs. Hello, Christopher Maloney.
that's like a 5 out of 5 helpings.
Yes.
Yes.
He would be a 5 helpings rating. Yes, that is what we're talking about.
So yeah, this Shemar Moore, he averages a 2.
Yeah. But you gave him 2.5. You gave him like halvesies.
It's only because he was holding the shot.
Okay. Well, so I couldn't find anywhere if Schreiner was actually incarcerated after this. Just that he was let go, resigned, fired.
Yeah, same. I looked up to see, they said he was facing charges. So I don't know. I haven't been able to find anything to see if he was actually convicted, how the trial came out, all of that stuff.
Is that something you could easily check since you work with prisoners. For people who don't know, Stacy teaches Shakespeare to inmates in prison.
Yeah, I work at a level 4 max security facility doing like arts and corrections and rehabilitative programming.
Is that something that you could easily check though, where you're like...
I think because all of that is public record anyways, you just have to know where to look.
I did not know where to look.
Yeah.
Let me do a brief search. Keep going. Keep talking. Talk amongst yourself and researching.
What kind of prison would he be in?
I feel like that's minimum security. Unless they got him for conspiracy to commit murder because there was the one, or, you know, accessory to murder because of the one death. Okay.
I don't think it's gone to trial yet for his charges. Because from what I can see, this happened... There was an update in 2019 with new evidence in regards to like an email that Schreiner had sent, further showing like his guilty status or like his guiltiness in the like pre-planning of this. And so I don't believe that this has gone to trial yet.
Okay. So yeah, so obviously like this episode was not based on this event. We are going to try to get most of them that were like based on it, but because the other ones that they pulled from do have their own episodes later on, we're just doing true crime things that can be linked. And this is like the only case that I know of where a guard helped an inmate. And that of course was the premise for the double unsub for the episode. So I thought it was kind of interesting though, because you don't see that a lot. And I think that a lot of these kinds of shows, and same with Law & Order, Criminal Minds, CSI, they do actually put prison guards, rogue cops, ambulance drivers as the bad guys because it's more interesting, but it doesn't happen that often. I think you tend to see more domestic abuse in those cases than like helping serial killers.
It is interesting too, I'm going to throw this out there, that he was a male helping another male, because typically in those stories that we've seen, especially like this one really famous one that recently happened with the woman who was a prison guard who helped him escape together, and she had like 6 months before she retired. So yeah, typically you don't see this type of like social relationship and helping each other. So it makes me wonder what type of like manipulation tactics he used and those types of things to really sink into Schreiner and get him to help him.
Well, and it's so interesting too because they do, like I just read Mindhunter for book club by John Douglas, who, if you're fans of the show, you probably know who John Douglas is. He's one of the fathers of the BAU and kind of came up with the whole idea of profiling. You know, he says that like serial killers are some of the most charming people because they have to charm people into their cars, into back alleys, like letting them do things to get away from cops, all of these things. But then there are the ones who can't do that, like we saw with the footpath killer in this episode who stutter. And so they do blitz attacks. And this feels like he wouldn't need to be charming because he broke into homes and then was like, oh, I can kill the people inside, as opposed to a Bundy or a Dahmer who has to charm people back to their place, letting them into their house, that kind of thing. So it's very interesting. And then for it to be on a man, because like you were saying, it's mostly like these women, like women guards, or more likely what we see are the women who marry men on death row as we're incarcerated.
Yeah, like it's always romantically driven in some way.
So it is very interesting. Yeah, all of those things converging on these people specifically.
Yeah, so it makes me wonder, like, why he decided to help him.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely have to keep an eye on the trial then, especially as new information. I mean, his whole defense was, I was tricked. I was like, how were you tricked? Why were you there? Because he was like, wasn't trained enough. I didn't have enough experience to be with the high max death row people. And I'm like, then why were you there? Why were you there alone? And then I was tricked into opening his... If I'm there and I don't know what I'm doing and a guy on death row is like, hey, open my cell, I'd be like, no? Or like, let me go check with my supervisor? Like, what?
Right.
Yeah,
well,
like why would you hire a guard who could be tricked like that in the first place? And I mean, I know he's going to use the defense of like, this private prison system sucks and they're setting us up to fail. Which, I mean, is fair, but, like, why would you be like, I'm going to be a prison guard, but I'm, like, Chicken Little.
Right. Well, like, So think about when this happened, when the riot happened.
Mm-hmm.
When did the pandemic hit?
2018.
Okay,
So this
so
was 17, yeah.
Wait, 2017. Wait, the pandemic was 27? No, it wasn't.
No, the riot.
No, the
at
riot.
prison was 17, and then the
What?
pandemic was
I'm-
end of 2019, beginning of 2020.
Okay,
Okay, so-
I was like 2018. That's when everything happened.
so
Oh my God, I've been inside for too long, you guys.
for real. So this was just helping me timeline wise. Okay, so if you think about prior to the pandemic, there already was such a huge staffing issue in regards to like COs in ratio to what they actually need at prisons. So in my experience, especially with where I work, there was constantly people being moved around and people being added in and all of this stuff. So like where one day this guy would be over in this section, the next day he would be over there, and they were constantly shuffling and shifting around. So I could see the plausibility of him being thrown into that space and that capacity without being fully trained, whatever that looks like. However, in order for people to be opened up and like transported into or like freely walk into a different part of the facility, they have to have a ducat. They have to have all of these things in order for them to be like let out of their cells specifically at certain times of days. And it's a huge, very specific process. So that part of him being tricked does not make sense to me. Like, does not compute. He's flat out lying.
But also, how tricked? How? Like,
did he give you a ramen soup?
right? Like how?
Yeah, like how when you are the one who's in power, how do you create such a dynamic that you feel like the other person that's like below you is in control or somehow can make you do X, Y, and Z? I don't know.
None of that fucking makes sense. I think it was this weak kind of loser of a man who, you know, grew up a loser kid who found a big, you know, he's notorious in the state, so he's famous. He found this big guy who is in charge and was probably in charge on the cell block and revered because of his crimes, as they do tend to be, especially when child rape is not involved, right? The serial killer is usually either revered or has a target on his back to take him down as the biggest in the yard. I'm just saying this, not that I have any experience personally in the yard, but from what I've, you know, read and all that kind of stuff. And he felt like a big man because he felt like he was his friend.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Cliffy Bloom over here exploited that of like, oh, if he's going to let me out, sure. Like,
right. Or it had to have been some sort of like promise of money, or
maybe it was some kind of promise of like fame of like, oh, I've been an actor. I know these people and that people. And I mean, if he's a serial killer and a psycho, he probably knows how to talk himself up, lie to people, and manipulate people in a way that they would believe, I don't know, certain promises like that, you know?
Or we are missing the most glaring, and Schreiner's gay.
I was gonna say maybe it was
Like,
romantic,
actually.
maybe
and you know,
it was romantic.
It could be romantic.
Yeah.
And he just fell for him. We've all been there, fallen for the wrong guy. The walking red flag. I feel for Schreiner.
We have all fallen for the walking red flag before.
Oh my gosh, you guys.
That's what your 20s are for. Just sort through the flags.
Thank God I'm still there.
Just sorting through just Stacy over here. Here's the United States.
Not that one. Not that
And
one.
here's Uganda.
This one's Spain. We hit on a point of like the modern day prison system and how it's all garbage.
Yeah. Do you want to talk to us about prisons?
Yeah. If everyone gets a chance to, there's a really beautiful documentary on how on privatized prison system essentially was created as like the modern form of slavery. And it's called 13th. It's on Netflix. It's a beautiful documentary. It's super eye-opening, and I absolutely think everyone should watch it.
Okay, yeah, that won a bunch of awards. I didn't watch it because it came out like
there was so much going on. It really didn't.
Black Lives, right?
Yes.
There was so much tragedy that I was watching that I couldn't, but I'll have to go back and watch it for sure.
It's all just messed up. It's really super eye-opening.
That's so crazy. Okay, so like talk to us about your experience though in the prison. Like, so you can see that there are all of these problems. Are there good aspects about it? Like, are there people? Because I assume prison guards are there because they have really no other place to go and work. And you hope that they're not the people who just want to be in charge of other people in that kind of gross way, but that maybe they don't have the educational background or the opportunities. So they're kind of at a job that they don't even want to be at. Or is it something more like in your experience where they are trying to do good and believe in rehabilitation? Because a lot of like FBI guys who write all the books don't believe in rehabilitation.
It's a mixed bag of nuts, honestly. Like in my experience, you do have some people there who are really good at what they do. They've cultivated a sense of respect between the two groups. And when I say two groups, I mean like COs and inmates, essentially. So you do have some people who are working in the system who are trying to not make it a miserable experience. And then there are some who are sadly in it for the paycheck. And you can tell with how when they walk across the yard, how people scatter or how people interact with them. And so it truly is like a mixed bag of nuts. And I do full-heartedly believe that it's dependent on the state. So like the state of California recently changed their actual name from the California Department of Corrections to the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. So the state of California is putting a massive focus into the rehabilitative aspect, and they're making a lot of grounds and movement. But there are some states that don't. And to like the state of California's like good side, they're trying to get rid of and close down a lot of like privatized prison systems and prisons. So
I think that's what you have to do. I think it has to go back to government oversight. I also believe that for like utilities, like we see in Texas with their grid, but I live in LA. And so I'll say like Southern California gas right now, everyone has seen an uptick, like where I would spend maybe $100 a month in the winter. Last month, my bill was $500. And it's like, that's a little price gougey, you know, and it's like, and that's a liberal state. And I just feel like the privatized companies don't have the same maybe oversight by the people that maybe the government would. I know a lot of people don't want government in our business or whatever. Obviously, I'm actively trying to move to the UK where they're in your business all the time. Big Brother is watching. There are no guns. There's, you know, like it's a very different system. I think Canada's health system, like they figured it out. Let's do that. Socialized healthcare seems to work, you know, but all of that stuff aside, I do think once you hit privatized companies, when things are for profit and the bottom line only, you start seeing people do very selfish things. And when people's lives are involved, that becomes very scary and very dangerous.
Well, it's a business. They're literally running a business. And so if you think about what is the main goal of a business, it's to make as much money as possible. Ergo, regulations and things like that are united across non-privatized companies aren't as put through. So it's
we see that with food. With the food quality, right? Like didn't they bring in scientists to be like, this is the cheapest, but still hits the calorie or whatever. And it's like
a loaf
sludge. It's like so gross. Mm-hmm. It's like, would you eat this as the person who runs the prison? Are you going to eat that? Like, I think that they should have to stay in their own prisons for a week and then be like, okay, if you're okay with this, then let's go.
Right. So the whole system in itself is just
problematic.
A hot mess. It's problematic. Yeah. And do I have a solution? No.
Stacey, that was your one job for today. What's to come? What's to come with solutions for our modern prison system?
Well, and if you think about it, that really, all of this really sucks for Matthew Schreiner in the long run, because no matter what, he's going to be screwed. Whether he's right and he was put in a position where he was going to fail and they set him up for failure because of how struggling the industry is and how much it's failing, it's still an industry that's going to fry him no matter what. They're going to come out on top. You know?
Well, and it can't be very great to be like, everyone knows, of course, if you're, a child rapist going to prison, it's not great for you, not a good position. But I wonder, a guard going to prison, like the guards aren't going to like you, for one thing. No. But I can't imagine that a lot of the inmates are going to like you. Like, even if you did try to help another inmate, like maybe that'll buy him some cred, but I can't imagine he's getting a lot of protection from anybody in that place. And he's tiny. He's little.
I was just going to say, I feel like most people are going to be like, you're a little bitch ass.
Yeah.
And,
he's going to be a girlfriend.
Exactly.
Real quick.
Stacey, do you have any?
Maybe that's how he got tricked.
Oh, that's true.
He was someone's relationship.
That's true. Stacey, I know, is a hot commodity where she works, and everyone wants Stacey to be their girlfriend. Can you tell
can't
us
help it.
anything? Your glasses are coming out. I can't help it.
Hold on, I have to fix this.
Are there any stories that you can tell us about having to avoid becoming a girlfriend and what that looks like?
I can't wear perfume or can't wash my hair the night before because it smells too good.
Oh my God. Don't you wear a wedding ring when
These
you go
are things
in?
I would never think of.
Mm-hmm. I do. I know. It is kind of like, I'm all about equal opportunity. Oh, we lost her.
How did we lose her again?
Am I back?
Oh, yeah, you're back.
There she is.
Wait, we lost her again.
Hello? Hello, hello. There it is.
There we go. Okay.
Prison.
I do find it interesting, the level of like the ratio of women who do work in the prison system comparative to like men obviously is much lower. Unless you're in like a women's run facility, then obviously that ratio is much higher. But all the crazy things that you can think of happen.
So did they tell you those things? Like when you went in, did they say you should probably wear a wedding ring, don't wear perfume? Or were those things you figured out trial and error?
Some of it, yeah. Some of it I figured out trial and error. And some of it was like through all of the certification and training and things like that was sent to me. And sadly, the wedding ring thing isn't necessarily to save face in front of the inmates themselves, but it's from like COs. Like I would just get hit on constantly.
Oh, I didn't even think of the corrections officers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But also that a wedding ring stops. This is like one of my biggest pet peeves because I was just out literally the other day, like 2 days ago, walking Bartok. And this guy stopped his car and was like saying something to me. And I thought he was talking about Bartok because people stop their cars to talk about my dog all the time. And I was like, oh, what? And he was like, can I have your number? And I was like, no, thank you. And I was like, trying to be very polite and like nice and like take it as the compliment it was intended. And then he kept harassing me and he started following me in his car. And like, men who are listening to this, don't do that. This is why we just say no. It wasn't even like, I don't care who, if it was Leonardo DiCaprio, I'd been like, no, please. Like, first of all, no woman is going to be like, yes, here, strange man, take my phone number. Let's let this harassment continue. But it's like, you can't take no for an answer. And he was like, oh, why? Do you have a boyfriend? It shouldn't matter. I'm not interested. Boyfriend or not, I'm not giving a stranger my number who is now following me down the street when I'm trying to just live my fucking life.
Yeah.
Like, that's so crazy that it is that idea of like, oh, this is already someone's property, so don't hit on her. When,
right.
I'm sorry, but if you wanted to cheat on your fake husband, that is well within your right to do so.
The audacity.
Yeah.
And to just keep following you in a car.
Yes. Yeah, and usually that really doesn't happen with Bartok because he is a bear and men are like, oh, this is a very large dog. It was really wild and I got really mad about it. And he made me like stop and tell him the reasons. So I like listed off a bunch and I'm like, but mostly I'm just not interested. And he was like, okay, well, like I just had to know. No, you didn't. All you had to do.
That's like having to explain a joke, like why it's funny. Just like...
Just move on. I was like, you didn't need to know. He's like, I just had to understand. I was like, that you can't take no for an answer. I told you no. I was very nice about it. Just take the no and go about your day. This is why women are terrified. This is why we don't go out after sundown. Like,
oh my goodness.
Right.
And this is happening in fucking Pasadena, California, in the fucking suburbs.
Yeah.
It's wild.
And do men chase each other down for, like, exact reasons for stuff like that?
Yeah.
Like, if that guy said to another guy, like, hey, will you help me this weekend do whatever? And the guy was like, no. I would never see another guy be like, well, why? Why not? Tell me why. I'm not leaving here tonight.
Why are you dating someone?
Like, yeah. Oh my goodness.
It's so wild. I don't know. It's so crazy. The society we're in.
I wonder if, taking it back to our boy Shriner here, I wonder if he was raised by women. Like, maybe he didn't have a really strong paternal figure in his life. And so I'm wondering if, like, he was overcompensating by getting into a really misogynistic field. And then Bloomfield was, like...
the daddy he never had.
Right, like hook, lined, and sinked it.
Like, I'm part of these badasses now.
Right.
I mean, definitely, right? Because we do see that most serial killers are the product usually of a no father household. Although they do tend to have a very domineering and abusive upbringing. There's not usually a strong father figure. And we do see that with a lot of men who do become a bit toxic. It's like you get it either way, right? Like very, very understanding to the point of like... this is too much like dating a woman, you know, raised by 5 sisters. And they're like, can I get you a tampon? Is your menstruation? Like, and you're like, you're too involved. You're now too involved. And then you get the other side of like, periods are gross. Ew, fucking girls. Like, women should just be like in the kitchen, but also raising my kids. And I'm going to be at the sports. You know what I mean? You get the like, double side of it. I don't know where I was going with that. I just wanted to do my male impression. Was it good?
She just wanted to
It was good.
dive into her kink. What part of the spectrum?
I'm just using this podcast to get a boyfriend, so I just need people to know.
I love that. Send your emails to...
Right.
Do you want a headshot with the resume?
I was just going to say that.
Yeah. Like, I need...
we need the social
stats.
handle, too.
I need your stats. Like, how tall, how much do you weigh? I do, like, big boys. I like refrigerators. David Harbour, I'm talking to you. Oh, no, he's with Lily Allen, though, right now.
Ooh,
what a cute couple. I love them. Yeah, you know, I need... a man's man, but not toxic. It's a very fine line, but like a little toxic because you do want them to like throw you around, but like consensually.
But like we'll understand the safe word for sure.
Yes, that's all we're looking for in this life. I think all of us
Michael
are just
Strahan,
looking.
Give us a call
for a safe word.
For a safe word. What is your safe word? What would your safe word be?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I know what our friend Kristen's, our next episode's guest, safe word is. I maybe shouldn't say that here. What would my safe word be? Lemoncello.
It's an eloquent one.
Thank you. I don't know if you could say that with a ball gag in, though. You know, like that would get hard. Lemoncello. Although you could definitely like tell what you're saying. Well, because think about it. If you say something like water or you can't tell. But hello. Like you're like, oh, she's saying a word. That's definitely lemoncello. Mine's lemoncello.
I like that. I don't have one.
I don't have one either.
I didn't either. I don't. Okay. I was just asked to come up with one.
Boundaries don't have them.
Clearly. Oh my god. Oh,
I usually just say stop.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's just kind of a.
But what if you're doing role play?
See, I'm not really like into huge role play.
Yeah, it's like the costumes and.
It doesn't have to be costumes. Okay. You know what? We're getting in. It's fine. I'm very sex positive. I'm going to say that.
I mean, me too, but that's just not my thing.
Maybe that's what I'll try tonight with Jesse and I. I'm the prisoner, you're the guard, and we're starting a fucking riot.
That's hot.
That's hot.
Okay. So what I'm getting with this is between Shriner and Bloomfield, it could have, like, it had to have been a romantic thing. There's no way.
I think it's romantic.
Yeah.
I think that's what we decided.
Romantic based or like weird daddy issues based.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not mutually exclusive.
Correct.
That's, yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
What if it's both?
All right, guys. I think we've done this one, y'all.
I think so too. I think we've run this one into the
ground. Okay, so
the ground.
Thanks for joining us on Criminal Gines. Amanda, we will see Amanda a lot doing Our Buddy Bundy. That's going to be her segment, so we'll see you a bunch. But thank you for being our first guest.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. To everyone, like, subscribe, download, where all of your podcast things are. I've heard people say this, so I'm going to say that. And we'll see you next week for episode 2.